Hi, I'm Rob Crombie, class of 76. This video is number 9 in a series of short videos to encourage you in your life journey to live out all God made you to be, to follow Christ today and tomorrow. In this video, I'll look at the question you always ask yourself when you arrive at a new base. Should I join the base chapel or an off-base church? When I graduated, I ended up in a civilian institution for 1 year. There was no base chapel, so I enjoyed the benefits of a very large evangelical church in the city. The benefits were, number one, a Sunday school class for single adults that had over 100 members, excellent preaching and prayer in the main worship service, a Sunday evening service great for meditation on God, a men's prayer group on Tuesday mornings, and avenues for service and training. For example, I took a training on teaching kids and served as a 6th grade Sunday school teacher for a few months. When I got to my first base, that was Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, which had chapels in each of its 3 housing areas. There were also many good evangelical churches in the community. I chose the base chapel near the enlisted barracks as a Sunday morning outreach. By collaborating with the base chaplains, my buddy and I could teach a Sunday school class for people our age and even start a Bible study in the barracks. Base chapels tend to be hit or miss as far as worship and preaching quality goes, so I would supplement that by attending a Sunday evening worship service off base and attending or leading a Bible study with like-minded people in the community during the week. My second base was Edwards Air Force Base in the California desert. I lived on base in a mobile home, which allowed me to have a Christian roommate part of the time. There were 2 chapels, one near family housing and one near the barracks that had a good gospel-oriented worship theme. Again, I attended the base chapel where I could lead a Bible study. I was also a camp counselor at a base chapel youth retreat and organized a Christian conference on base at the chapel. An advantage of the base chapel is they didn't need the same level of financial support as an off-base church, since the building and chaplain salaries were covered by the military. I realized I could therefore give most of my tithe to other ministries. In fact, at one point, the base chapel offerings had grown so big that the base commander diverted some of the money to other needs. And there were arguments sometimes between the 2 chapel communities over how the common pot of money would be spent. I tried to be a peacemaker in that situation. My third base was Ogden Air Force Base in Utah. This base chapel was particularly strong, with many retirees and their families attending and evangelical-minded chaplains there. There was only one chapel building, and it was near the barracks. The chapel sponsored a young adult singles group, and a few of us would go through the barracks to talk to people about Christ. One junior enlisted man became my roommate off base for a year when his barracks roommate was having female friends over too much. My next base was Los Angeles Air Force Base, where the housing area and chapel were far removed from the base itself. I lived closer to the base in a Japanese American community and decided to get some cross-cultural experience by attending and joining a small Japanese American church. They had services in both languages and a midweek Bible study in English. There is also a multi-church Japanese American singles group where I was welcomed as a token Anglo. Eventually, I was invited to also help with a sister church in a Hispanic neighborhood by preaching on some Sundays. I finally got married and moved with my wife back to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, living on base. We chose to attend an evangelical church off base where my wife felt she could make some friends. We also attended a midweek couples Bible study off base. We would continue to attend a large off-base evangelical church when we returned to Los Angeles Air Force Base and lived in the community. They had a couples Sunday school class and a midweek Bible study that we attended that were pretty good. After retirement, we moved 35 miles away and have attended a medium-sized Southern Baptist church for 20 years, mostly to focus on our children and their Christian schooling. We have always been involved with the Awana program, where I now enjoy helping kindergartners learn Bible verses. Now, one of the Bible principles I learned at the academy was to bloom where you are planted. This is found in 1 Corinthians chapter 7, where Paul laid down a rule that each person in the body should retain the place in life to which God had called him, not wanting people to change their circumcision status or state of bondage unless freedom was an option. Now for us in the military, we can use chapel events to rub shoulders with military people and seek to help them to walk with God and find forgiveness in Jesus. But there are many sides to this question because each person and their family and base situation are unique. So I encourage you to check out your base chapel and off-base church options when you arrive at a new base. So why don't you check out 1 Corinthians chapter 7 and consider how best to bloom where God has planted you. My friend, make it your aim and goal to abide in Christ each day, to seek to follow him in every stage of your life, seeking out a good balance of spiritual input and service at each place where you are planted. May God bless you as you are open to what he has prepared for you and your family. Contact me, Rob Crombie, class of 76, if you'd like to get matched up with another grad to better learn how to make following Christ a priority in your circumstances. You can find me on ZumiLink, the AOG's graduate networking platform. It's at zumilink.usafa.org. I'm Rob Crombie, and I'm praying your life will bring God much glory.